Alrighty friends, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about clarinet maintenance. We are going to be talking about things like how to apply cork grease, how to clean a clarinet mouthpiece, how to put the instrument together and disassemble, and what to do with the reed, and swabbing the instrument, and then issues to look for to see if you feel like there's an issue going on, things to look out for there, some common problems. So disclaimer, I am no longer a clarinet player. I haven't actually played the instrument in a while, but I started out on clarinet and I, played it for about 6 years. So, I'm a brass player now, so it's been a little while, but here we go. So, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grease the clarinet. So this is called cork grease. It comes in a little tube like this. It applies just like chapstick, and, it's pretty easy to use. You grease the corks. So the corks actually fit together like this, and you put grease on the corks to make it easier to pull in and out, and to make small, minute adjustments when you're tuning the instrument. You want a little bit of a gap. So in order to make that easier, you use cork grease, and it dries out. So we recommend putting on cork grease about once a week. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the cork here, and we're just going to spread it on a little bit like this. Sometimes it comes off in a little chunk like that. That's okay. We'll spread it in. Just put a little bit on. Take your fingers and rub that in place. Now I got a little bit on the instrument, so I always like to have a little bit of paper towel to get it off my fingers and to get it off of the parts of the instrument where you don't want it. Clean that off. So that one's good. I'll do it on the other side of this one. This one's drier than the other one. So it just goes on like that. It's a pretty quick process. Like I said, you want to do this about once a week or whenever your corks feel dry. If you overdo it, like you're doing it, every single day, you can actually put too much on there and your instrument will fall apart. So we don't want that happening. So quick, quick, quick like that. Grease those up. So, like I said, this is actually my clarinet from when I was in 5th grade. I'm no longer a clarinet player, but I was looking at this instrument when I was getting ready to do this video, and I noticed there were some problems, so it's perfect. I can show you some things to look out for, things that might cause issues with playing. So we'll talk about that later in the video. So now that we've gotten all greased up, there's only 4 corks that you need to worry about greasing. There are some other pieces of cork on here. You don't have to grease those or anything. We've had that come up as an issue, but you don't have to worry about those. Those are just basically buffer pads. So that is all good to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about cleaning a mouthpiece. And I talked about this with my brass mouthpiece video, but clarinet and woodwind mouthpieces are a little bit different. Clarinet mouthpieces in particular have a cork on them, unlike saxophone mouthpieces. So in order to clean that, you don't want this to get wet. So we are not going to submerge this in water. What we're going to do is we are going to take a little piece of blue painter's tape, and we are going to tape this off along that line. I recommend cleaning your mouthpiece once a week or so, up to at least monthly. This packing tape is a little bit big, but you tape that off like that, get a nice seal on it, and then you take a mouthpiece cleaning brush like this guy, and you soap and water, and then you just clean in there like this. You can use a little bit of toothpaste on there to get it nice and minty fresh, but you just clean in there to get any sort of gunk off like that. This has a mouthpiece pad on it. If there's teeth imprints on there or it looks really gross, you can pull these off and replace them too. But so you want your mouthpiece to look nice and clean like that, and then you can take the tape off. I would recommend doing that before you put cork grease on there, because it's a little bit tricky to put the tape on there with the cork grease, but you don't want the cork to get wet. That's the biggest thing. The other thing that you can do is you can take like a cup and fill it with half vinegar and half water and soak the mouthpiece. You don't want you want the water to only come up to about here, but you can soak the mouthpiece like that in a little bit of vinegar and water, and that'll help with if there's any sort of calcium buildup. That's that white stuff that builds up on there. So if there's anything like that on your mouthpiece, you can try that. And there's lots of other videos on different ways to care for it that I've seen. So nice clean mouthpiece, you want to do that, you know, between weekly to monthly. It can get a little bit gross in there because that's obviously all of your saliva is going directly into there and all your condensation is going directly into there. So you want to keep it nice and clean. Fungus and bacteria can grow in there. So keep that nice and clean. Let's see. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to assemble the instrument. I'm not going to play because like I said, I'm not a clarinet player anymore. I've lost those muscles. But we're going to put the instrument together, and then I'm going to show you how to clean it and then how to take it apart. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the barrel and the upper joint, and that just kind of gets put on there. And when you're holding it, you want to put the pressure of your hands on parts of the instrument that aren't keys. You don't want to squeeze down on these keys and put pressure on them because you can bend these metal keys. There are especially older instruments that maybe have softer metals or you know, just metals that are more likely to bend. So you don't want to ever squeeze this really hard and twist because you can bend these keys, and then you have to take it to a repair shop and get it so that all the keys and stuff seal up. So let's prevent that by grabbing it in a place like up here, avoiding this, and putting pressure there or on the actual body of the instrument. Same with down here, I'm putting my fingers here, and then I'm gently, gently, gently squeezing together and rotating it. With a clarinet, the biggest thing to look out for on this joint is this piece has a little foot that sticks out onto the other one, so that when you push this key down, it lifts up that other one. So you just want to make sure that that gets lined up on top like that. Just beware of those keys there. And then last piece, we're going to put on the barrel, or the bell here. Put like that, and then we're going to set that aside. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to put the reed on the mouthpiece. Now, what I recommend doing first off is soaking the reed while it is while you're putting the instrument together. That way it gets nice and wet. Obviously, I couldn't do that since I was talking. But then you just line the tip of the mouthpiece up with the tip of the reed there, and you make sure this part of the mouthpiece is called the table. So you make sure that's centered on the table and it's not off to the side or anything weird like that. Just gonna line that up, and then we're gonna put our ligature on. And a trick to remember with clarinet ligatures is that the screws always go on the right side. Sometimes ligatures will have the screws on the top of the mouthpiece, like up here, but they're always going to turn on the right side. So if you feel like your ligature isn't fitting right and the screws are over here, it's probably upside down or backwards. So readjust and get that going. So then we'll put that on there, and then your mouthpiece just gets popped on like that. Perfect. And then you are ready to play. So once you have played and you are ready to take the instrument apart, it just comes apart in the opposite order of how you put it together. I always take the bell off first, and then, or I take the mouthpiece off and then the bell and go from there. What you want to do is you want to take off, we're going to take off the mouthpiece and the barrel. Set that aside. I'm going to pull out my cleaning cloth. Set that aside there. We'll take off the reed, put that back. You always want to take the reed off of the mouthpiece. You never want to leave that on there. Bacteria can, since it's a moist environment, the bacteria can just grow and grow and grow, and it makes a really gross little petri dish inside your mouthpiece. So always take your reed off, clean it off, put it back in the reed case. If you've got a reed guard that holds either 2 or 4 or 8 reeds or whatever, use those. I don't have one of those, but you can put them back in here and that works just fine too. Tuck that away. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tuck this inside there. Clarinet cleaning swabs have a long string like this and then a big long cloth. Inside the string on the end is a little weight, so it weighs down through there. And we're just going to pull this through. And you don't ever want there to be any sort of tension when you're pulling it through. If you have tension, kind of pull it back through and rearrange. If there's tension, especially once you're cleaning the inside of the instrument, it can get caught on the keys and stuff inside. So you never want to feel like you're pulling really hard. If it does, pull it back through the other way and try again. You can also go the other way, and I like to do both sides like that. Pull it through like that. Set that aside. Once you've gone through both ways, then it's usually wiped off enough. There's a little cork grease there. Mouthpiece comes off, ligature stays with it, and the barrel goes in there. And then we're going to do the same exact thing with this, the cleaning swab going through the entire instrument. We're just going to feed that down through there. Pull it out the other side. Swab it there, and then you can go back down the other side. I don't know why, but I feel like going both ways makes it feel a little like you're getting more of the moisture out of the instrument. I don't know why, but pull that through the other side. Ready to go. Cool. So now it's wiped out. Look inside and make sure there's no moisture. Looks good. Take that part off. And again, not grabbing on the keys. You're grabbing around the keys and avoiding squishing the keys. Take the barrel or the bell off. Put that away. Your cleaning cloth should get wiped down occasionally. You should throw it in the wash, monthly or so, however often you feel is necessary. The better, you don't have to do it daily, but occasionally. Put that away, and then you are good to go. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about some issues to look for with clarinets specifically. So clarinets are woodwind instruments. They are comprised of keys, and underneath the keys are little pads. Usually they're white like that, sometimes kind of yellowish. And the keys they have screws, and they have some rods that run underneath here and some springs. There's some springs you can see under there. Lots of little moving pieces. If anything like that, if you are playing your instrument and you feel like any of the parts aren't moving or aren't playing the right note or anything like that, and you feel like there's a mechanical issue, take it to a repair shop or your band teacher and see if they can figure out what's going on before you try to do anything on your own. They'll be able to figure it out and take care of the problem really quickly, versus you could actually do some pretty bad damage to your instrument if you're, wrenching on a clarinet or use the wrong kind of screw or something like that. You can do damage that makes it really, really hard to fix later. So some things to look for. Obviously, if keys are jammed or if they're not sealing properly, if you push down on a key and it only closes partially instead of all the way, that can be a problem to look out for. This is a pad that is ripped on the edge there. This pad is still sealing. It's okay. I would probably, if this instrument came into our shop, I would recommend changing this pad because it's only going to get worse. This clarinet is, let's see, I'm going to age myself here, 15 years old, 17 years old. And I've never changed the pads on it because, like I said, I don't play the instrument anymore. So it does fine for me, but really that pad should get changed. The other thing to look out for is with the corks. See how this is missing a chunk of that here? That's going to be an issue. When you're putting the instrument together, that cork is, especially if you don't put enough cork grease on it, that cork's going to dry out and it's going to peel and flake and you're going to have to replace it. It's okay for right now. This is another thing that if this was in our shop, I would recommend replacing that cork. All of the corks on this particular clarinet still feel like they're sealing pretty well, but sometimes if the cork, if it just slides together really easily and it feels like it's really loose, sometimes the cork has compressed enough that you need to replace the entire cork too. So lots of different issues with the corks, but otherwise, sometimes this pad can need to be replaced. This is a squishy pad for your teeth, and sometimes if you drop a mouthpiece or something like that, you can get chips. Lots of little things to look out for. But if you see any issues like that, definitely take it to your band teacher or take it into a repair shop, and we can take a look at it and see what we can do for you and get you all fixed up. To finish, what we're going to do is we're going to take a cleaning cloth like this. This is just a really soft, like flannel material, clarinet cloth or cleaning cloth, and we're just going to wipe down any fingerprints off of the keys like that. Again, being gentle, getting lots of the fingerprints and any sort of that, like there was a little bit of cork grease left on there. Clean all that off. All of the pieces. Quick little wipe down. The last thing that you want on here is moisture or dirt or anything like that, because it can build up and cause issues with the keys. This is, you know, a mechanical instrument. It's a musical instrument, but it's made of mechanical things that open and close with springs. So you need it to be clean and you need the keys to function. So wipe it down after every play. Make sure that gives you a chance to kind of look things over and make sure that there's no issues too. But other than that, I think I've covered everything that I was going to talk about. If you have any questions, definitely let us know. Otherwise, we will see you soon. Thank you very much for watching.